welcome to Raw Sound Entertainment's review of the 500 Greatest Albums by Rolling Stone magazine. My name is Marshall.
And my name's Sam.
And today, we will be reviewing album number 498 on their list, The Stone Roses by, that's right, The Stone Roses.
So, I'll give a bit of background. The Stone Roses were a sort of experimental rock band at the time. The album came out in 1989, and they were not as big of a success as a lot of the other bands, but a lot of people thought that this could be, as they quote on Rolling Stones, the next British invasion in music, sort of like the Beatles did in the 60s and 70s. And
well, I mean, the Beatles led, a lot of bands led the British invasion, but I think overall, like, the British invasion was just tons of British bands, you know,
like Pink
The Who,
Floyd,
The Doors, you know, coming over, and
even U2 later.
Well,
Irish,
I don't think that it went all the way to there. I think the British invasion ended in the late 70s, personally.
And even the Sex Pistols, that would have been the creators of punk, debatably.
Yeah, but I don't think the Sex Pistols...
Never mind. Doesn't matter. It's not important. So we don't need to get into a debate who started punk. Was it the Sex Pistols?
No, I don't think they... I'm not getting into that debate. I'm saying I don't think they were part of the British invasion.
You don't think so?
No. I don't
Okay,
think so.
Anyways. The Stone Roses, they say they could have been a start of the next British invasion, and that might very well be right after listening to this album. Anyways, the important thing to note here is that this band actually didn't go on to make very much more music. They made one more album in 1994, and that's it. They never released any more music after that. So they made two albums, The Stone Roses, and then they went on to make Second Coming, which pretty well titled. And that's it. So this is sort of a one-of-a-kind gem. Two-of-a-kind gem. There's two of them, but this is their most popular album. And I guess let's get into sort of what it's all about. So what kind of music can we find here? So like what kind of sounds?
Well, there's a lot of different themes going on, as with all the albums we've been listening to, and I think we've been saying this a lot, but I think it's a sign of good music when you can take all of the previous genres and add something to it and mix it up, and not necessarily staying to one thing. I generally don't listen to music that is just one genre. You know, I like music that is willing to branch out. Like currently, one of my favorite bands is the Arctic Monkeys because they're willing to try a lot of different stuff. And I think that a lot of the albums, especially towards the end, will be albums that try different stuff. You know, and I think the Stone Roses are one of those. So they there's some grunge. There's some themes from some just really classic guitar riffs. I even hear some 80s and some 70s like pop stylings in there occasionally. And one of their songs is like, it's like one of those classic English ballads that you hear. It's really short, but it's like one of those classic English. It's called Elizabeth, My Dear. And it's one of those classic English ballads you'd hear like in the countryside. You'd hear like a bard playing it in a tavern in 1800 or something. So they've got a lot of different stuff that they're willing to try out in this album, and that's one of the sad things that they didn't continue because they obviously could have done a lot of cool stuff with their future albums.
They certainly have some really good sounds in this album. I think we can agree on that one. But the thing is, we haven't talked about this ever on the series before, but I just sort of want to talk about it really briefly, is that this album has the most ugly album art I think I've ever seen. Do you agree?
Oh, I didn't actually hate it that much.
I thought it was
I thought it was interesting. I think it's confusing because there's no roses, there's just oranges.
No, lemons. You have like some lemons.
Oh, those are lemons? I thought they were oranges.
Those are lemons, and they're yellow.
I thought they were on some sort of countertop, or maybe that's like a modern art piece.
A modern art piece, I'm sure. And then like the Dutch flag in the top left corner.
No, that's just red, white, and blue. It's for the British flag.
I guess so, but it's.
Or maybe it's supposed to be like they're invading America, and that's the American flag.
Maybe, and the Americans are lemons, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know.
No.
I just found it really ugly personally. I'm not a big fan of that sort of painting. That's just throw paint on a canvas, done, $1 million. But I digress. I just thought it was ugly. Okay. Anyways, let's get to the actual songs on the album.
We should talk about the album art from now on.
We should. That's a good idea.
Like, for example, on B.B. King's album, did you notice that his was like blue?
It was blue, yes, like the blues.
so I don't know. There's some interesting album art to analyze.
For sure.
And Clementines album art is weird.
It was cool though. It was very funky.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was almost something I'd put up on my wall.
That was a whistle-stop tour of the previous two albums' album art.
Make sure to check them out. Anyways, so the songs. You said grunge. Now, calling that grunge would be a little bit of an overstatement, I think. It wasn't very grunge. It was more like sort of hints of grunge. They were,
Well,
you could see that they were progressing towards grunge.
here's what I think about bands like this that come before the genre has really been extrapolated fully. And I think it's sort of like if you were listening to a rock and roll song in 1949. It's like it's not all there yet. It's not complete. It's sort of half done. And I think that's the kind of grunge I'm talking about. I'm not talking about full-blown grunge because it really hadn't been extrapolated on that much at this time. And so I think when I say grunge, I mean more like grunge-esque. You know what I mean? Sort of.
Yes, it was very grunge-esque. Like, I think it's very obvious when you listen to the two first tracks that you can see grunge is on the way, right? Like, it's like the Stone Roses, they start off with "I Want to Be Adored" and "She Bangs the Drums," and they both have some really grungy like vocals in them, and very solid guitar riffs, which I love. I really love the solid guitar riffs, and then you have the solid drums too, the very loud drums that you will see later on in the 90s for sure. Drums become very important, which I love. I love drums. I love the sound of drums, and I like very loud sort of beating drums, and I like that you can hear them, and these two first tracks you can really hear the 90s rock.
One thing I have to say is I'm not an enormous fan of grunge, and so when I heard the first two tracks I was kind of like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of this, but no, the album is like a lot of different shit. Like,
yeah, I was sure it was gonna be a full grunge album.
This is the kind of album where if you don't like, you're probably gonna like a couple of songs to add to your playlist on this album, even if you don't want to add the whole album, you know. Like, this is a very, very diverse piece.
It's very easy to appreciate, though. There's something for everyone in this album, for sure. You move from grunge then into some sort of folk tracks in the middle that are like they would fit well with like James Taylor and some even Billy Joel to a certain extent.
And then all of a sudden we end up in the British countryside. Then we go back to some sort of 70s rock.
Yeah, Bye Bye Bad Man is like a nice calm song, and then we go Song for My Sugar Spun Sister, which is a very 70s inspired song, which you can hear that from Sugar Spun Sister's song. It sort of sounds 70s in the way it's titled, and you really get those 70s guitars, and it's really well done. It's really, and they do well in every genre. It's not like they have one genre where you're like, this is much better than all the others. They are all equally enjoyable, I think. And it was very, very natural progression too. Did you find through the songs?
Yeah, I think it flowed well.
It flowed very well, and Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think I was talking about like what makes albums great, and I think a lot of the later albums, at least what I think makes an album great versus what makes a song or a band great. Like, what makes a song or a band great are good lyrics and good music and good instruments and great artists. What makes an album great is a flow, a theme, and a sort of something that continues throughout the album, a story that can be told through the album itself. And that's why, like, The Wall is my favorite album of all time, because it is, in my opinion, the best story told on an album ever.
Okay.
And so when we eventually get to that, it's gonna be the
I've
best
never
thing.
listened to The Wall in its entirety.
That's gonna be a long review.
Excited.
There's 20 songs on it.
Jeez.
And
they're long.
No, not all of them are that long. But I really like I really like that album. It's 2 discs.
I'm looking forward to it. I do like Pink Floyd as well. So I really like the Bye Bye Bad Man into Elizabeth My Dear, because it feels logical, right? Because he's like, bye bye bad man, and then he sings, and it's like sort of a calmer song too, and then moves into sort of a song that feels like it's maybe tailored to like maybe not tailored, but like sung to like a younger person, or maybe to his girlfriend or something. So maybe the bad man is symbolizing somebody that was attacking somebody else, or like a girlfriend or something, or it just felt right. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It does flow well. There's something there, sort of under the membrane of the music that feels good. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, it felt just really right. Everything was flowing perfectly, and the end of the album gets a bit crazy too, because it goes then to Shoot You Down, This Is the One, and I Am the Resurrection. This Is the One is a really killer song, and then you get to I Am the Resurrection, which is a 8-minute song that switches 3 times. It changes beats completely 3 times, but it's almost, you don't feel like it's changing songs. It's still the same song, and it's going from 90s to 70s to then 80s sort of thing. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I Am Resurrection sort of evolves while you're listening to it.
And that's why it was my favorite track. I loved it. I really, really liked I Am the Resurrection.
So that was your favorite track?
That was number one for sure for me, and it's even on my playlist now. I added it to my playlist because I loved it so much.
My favorite song in this track was definitely Elizabeth, My Dear, and honestly, like I was so sad, because I was listening to it and I'm like, and all of a sudden, like it comes on, and I liked Bye Bye Bad Man, but it came on and I was like, whoa. What's this? And because I really like bands that can kind of do that just soft lyrical singing with like a lute in the background, and it was so quick. All of a sudden it was over, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
It was sort of a hidden gem in there. It
was there and gone before I could even enjoy it. I was sort of sad about that one, but I really liked it. And so for me to say it was bad because of its length, I think would be unfair to it. So it's my favorite song. But you know, screw you for making it so short, guys. And then Sugar Spun Sister, really like that, and I agree with you on I Am the Resurrection. That was a really incredible song. But yeah.
And the thing is, right, this album, sometimes it feels like there's so many people in the room playing these instruments, right? Like, you feel like there's bongos playing at sometimes, and then you feel like there's, like, a cello at sometimes, or strings of some kind, and it almost feels like there's more instruments in there than there are bandmates, and that's really interesting. There must have been a lot of stuff added in post, because there's so many instruments.
I think especially, there's some contention over this, but I think especially 90s music, for me, has a very Wall of Sound-esque sound to it, which is basically just like, you know, just put as many instruments in there as possible and try to wash people with sound. They won't even be able to tell what's going on.
But I could find the instruments in there in that Wall of Sound. I could find the bongos, I could find the horns, I could find the strings, and like everything just made sense, and everything sounded really authentic to the period that it was trying to, I guess, imitate. Yeah. So that's what I thought. I mean, I really liked all the tracks on this album, but if I had to go for a least favorite, it might be Fool's Gold. It was stretching on a little bit long at the end, but it still had some really interesting elements. It had the almost whispering vocals in it, and which were really reminiscent to sort of some more modern stuff in the 2000s. Like one song I don't know if you've ever heard this song, but it's by the Dandy Warhols, Bohemian Like You. And he's sort of whispering the lyrics, but he's yelling them at the same time. It's a very weird sound, but I think they the Dandy Warhols emulated that sound, as Fool's Gold sort of had that sound too. But it just wasn't my favorite because of the length.
I think I agree with you. Fool's Gold didn't really interest me. And I think if I have to complain about a song's length, it means that I didn't enjoy the song. Like, theoretically, if a song is really, really good, it could go on for 8 minutes. You know,
right? Like I Am the Resurrection, 8 minutes and 14 seconds. It did not feel that long.
Exactly. So like I think Fool's Gold just wasn't there for me. I didn't like it. I'm not huge on the super grunge. So I wasn't, even though they weren't super grunge, I didn't love 1 and 2, and I don't know why I didn't like Shoot You Down.
Shoot You Down. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe like it did have some, not some stinkers. I don't want to use that word, but some songs that were less great, right? Like they were all good, and most of them were great. We'll put it that way. And I love grunge, so I personally adored the first 2 songs of the album.
Yeah.
So that's that, I guess. I think we're done with this album pretty early. So do you want to give our scores?
Well, my score is a solid 8 out of 10.
Sounded like you hesitated there. It was like a hesitation 8 out of 10.
Yeah, well, I thought I was gonna say something else.
You can give half scores.
I wasn't gonna say something else. I don't know. Anyway, 8 out of 10. It was good. It was really good. It was diverse. It made me think. It's definitely worth playing. If I see it in a music store, I'm gonna pick it up. But because I go into my local used CD shop every once in a while, and so
we don't have one here. I don't have a local CD shop.
The one in our town isn't that good, but there's my favorite one. So there's this town farther south of me called West Lafayette. It's where the University of Purdue is,
Okay.
It's basically a college town, and they have the best CD shop I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so cool in there. Like, they have some of the most rare CDs ever. They have everything. It's incredible. And it's not even that big of a place. Like, it's deceivingly small, but it's filled from wall to wall with just amazing music. Anyway, I don't get to go there that often, but if I see this, I'm going to pick it up. It was a very good album.
And that's why I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. This is a really fun album, and I got a lot out of it because I love rock, and I love 90s rock. So this album really hit it with me, and I got that really 90s feel in the late 80s. So I mean, you could hear a lot of the sounds that were going to be very dominant in the next I guess 10 years. But loved it. I loved all the songs. I liked some of them. I loved, and I think it was just fantastic. And if you haven't listened to I Am the Resurrection, go listen to that track in particular. If you don't have time to listen to the whole album, just go listen to that one because it's really special, and I think, in my opinion, it really encompasses all the 70s, 80s, 90s music in general. So that's what I have to say.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So that was our review. Now we're going to briefly talk about what the next album is going to be. So it's going to be The Red and White Stripes. What's the name of the album?
White Blood Cells by the
White Blood Cells by the Red and White Stripes.
If you want to talk about album art, these guys have got some weird album art. Because
I've looked at it a little bit, and it's really cool.
Have red and white in the album, so that's really cool that they're called the Red and White Stripes, because most of their albums have red and white as the theme in their album covers. So that's a cool thing they do. I like bands that have a sense of themselves. You know, they have a brand image and they want to retain it. And these guys definitely have a brand image.
Now, okay, so tell us. You've already listened to this album, so tell us a little bit about what
several times. I really like this. It's sort of its own thing. I guess if I was to classify it, it's sort of a garage band feel. And it's good. I really like the lyrics. I really like some of the songs. Most of the songs. It doesn't feel like it drags on too long, and I don't think there's a song on. Like, I feel like each of these, I might be wrong. I think all of these albums, though, up until now, I've had at least one song that I felt like, that's a long song. You know what I mean? Like, this is dragging on for a while. I didn't.
Do they not have any 20-minute songs? Not 20 minutes, like 9.5, 10-minute songs? Because those I find most of those long.
Yeah. Well, and what I found about the White Blood Cells is there's nothing that I felt like, wow, shoot me. They're all under 4 minutes, all of the songs. So, like, it has 16 songs, but it's only 40 minutes long. So that's
exciting.
Yeah,
that's good.
So it's a lot of different songs. I have a feeling you might think a lot of the songs. Actually, no, a lot of the songs do sound similar, but some of them are weird, and some of them are awesome. I think you're gonna like it. It's a weird album. These guys are a little bit garage band, a little bit alternative, I'd say. So I think it'll be a very interesting listen. The album came out in 2001, so it'll be one of the more recent ones we've listened to. Actually, it might be the most recent one so far that we've listened to.
All right, great.
On the list.
Looking forward to it.
Yep.
So hopefully you can all join us next time when we are going to review that album. If you want to follow us on this journey, hashtag 500greatest to tweet at us, or you can leave it in the comments below. We'd love to interact with you there. This is supposed to be a thing that we can do with you guys, so if you want to follow us on this journey, these videos are better listened to after having listened to the album. Of course you can without, but it's just better to sort of have a general knowledge of what the album sounds like. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time.